what's going on, everyone? It's David Palmer, Leo King, and we are here for Deep Astrology Live here on highvibe.tv, your weekly astrology forecast and horoscope for the week of August the 20th through the 26th of 2019. If you have never watched this show, this is where I channel the astrology live for you through the week, and then we go deep into the charts, which are brought to you by AstroGold, which you can get on iOS, on your MacBook, or of course, any of the Apple devices. And if you want to be on PC, get it on Solar Fire. And of course, to support highvibe.tv, check out highvibe.tv. We have an awesome website with subscription service, and we have different special paid videos. We have awesome content on there every day. My daily video horoscopes are on there. My weekly sun sign horoscopes are on there. My weekly tarot, my daily tarot, my weekly intuitive, and my special reports, especially this awesome one I'm doing on Venus about the fated aspects of relationships and projects and money aspects over this next 5 weeks until we got Saturn coming direct and the summer ending and coming into the fall with that sun coming into Libra. So you want to find out what all this is about, check that out at highvibe.tv. Well, here we go. End of Leo. It's time to get your vacuums out. Get them started. It is definitely a big transition this week because one, we've got the sun leaving Leo, its home sign, and this is the last time in our lives that we are going to see the sun in its home sign of Leo, with Saturn in its home sign of Capricorn, Neptune in its home sign of Pisces, with Jupiter in its home sign. And you got to remember that that's rare because Jupiter's leaving Sagittarius this year and won't be back around for a long time, over a decade. So we are not going to see the sun in its home dignity with all the big three, the sun, Jupiter, and Saturn, the biggest energies in astrology, all in their home sign. We won't see that in our lives again, people. So this sun is coming to the star Regulus. This is a big deal this week because Regulus, yes, has moved into Virgo, but we were all born with Regulus at 29-degree Leo. Unless you were born 1940 and below, then you have it at 28, okay? It's a 72-year transition for the fixed star of Regulus, which is the lion's heart. And this is very important because this courage right now is very important in our lives. We've got to step forward. It's a Saturn retrograde, a Pluto retrograde that with the south node is in Capricorn. You just can't escape life. You got to find a way to continue to move forward, to find your courage, and to be happy in the middle of what a lot of people think is chaos, but really it's an illusion. Remember that Neptune is sextiling the south node. This is definitely a very illusionary aspect of this control system against us and this patriarchy, and there's truth to that, but there's this, are you really going to go forge ahead and just quit because the world seems too hard or it seems too big? This is where we got to find our lion's heart. This is where we got to find our courage. And especially with Mars that's been in Virgo, we have the power right now to take opportunities and make something of them. And what's meeting up with Mars? Venus. Now, Venus is moving into Virgo on Wednesday, and Venus is not the happiest in Virgo. It's actually at its fall position. That's because nobody likes somebody telling you that you don't look good, that you should lose a little weight, that you got a pimple right there, and that actually you smell a little bit weird, right? And the reason why I say that is because Virgo definitely is the realist. So Venus wants to go into Pisces, its exaltation, where it's like, no, you look great, let's go have a beautiful time, and that was a wonderful dinner, and let's not do anything tonight, Netflix and chill. But Venus wants to, in Virgo, get things done. It wants to clean up life. It wants to tell you, you know what, I don't want to go eat McDonald's with you today. I want to go eat a salad. You know what I mean? And if you're in the mood for McDonald's, you're like, oh man, you know what I mean? So this Venus and Mars aspect, huh? No. Is it humming bad? I hate when we go live and there's problems. We might have to change the actual frequency. Is it buzzing? You know, this proves to y'all we do this show live, you know what I mean? You still got the buzz? Nope. No more buzz. So anyway, I don't even know where I was at. But long story short, Venus and Mars are coming. It's when I put it in my pocket? Well, I don't have any frequencies on me. I really don't know. I have nothing in my pockets now. We good? All right. Let's start from the top. Venus and Mars, the sun coming into Virgo. Oh, the flow. Channeling is not an easy thing, people. To get out of a channel and get back in is gnarly. What I want to tell people is this. There's opportunities to get your life straight right now and to make the most beautiful things, but you got to be real. This is Capricorn. This is Mars and Venus and Virgo. And Venus, even though it is in its fall position, doesn't like it here, but Mars is there. So there is this masculine and feminine coming together. And I think that this is very important for us to seed new opportunities, new relationships, new situations, or even just redefining it. This is a redefining of our lives, a redefining of what is better for us, that is going to be more streamlined, because coming up at the end of this year with this big Capricorn energy, we're going to have to go into a major, major, major energy that's going to feel like the weight of the world is the heaviest it's ever been. So streamlining your life, being connected with the right energies and being connected with energy that feels like you know exactly what you're going into because you've cleaned things up, you've got things straight, and more importantly, you're in alignment with things that make sense for your life. There's so much more going on. Mercury, of course, is trining Jupiter, but then going to quincunx Saturn right away. So we've got all these options in our life with our heart. Oh my gosh, look at all these things. But Saturn's in Capricorn going like, please pick what you want. I am freaking out if you're just going to keep looking all over at everything. So this is where this Jupiter-Saturn, this big energy of Jupiter in its home sign and Saturn in Capricorn, the restrictive element, the let's make a choice, is really dominating this Mercury. And Mercury's already been through a lot this year. I've already said this through every deep astrology, and I've been saying this for a long time. Part of the stress of life is Mercury has just gone through hell and back. I mean, literally, if you just watch these Mercury cycles, they've not been fun. So Mercury this week has all these weird options to look at because it's feeling like it has to make some sort of choice. And especially when this Saturday, when Mars and Venus conjunct, and on Friday, when the sun comes into Virgo, we have to streamline, we got to get things done. Mars is on top of Venus, like, oh, you're here to help? Like, let's go. I need help. Let's go make things happen. And Venus is about to pass Mars. So Venus was all the way behind, now it's past the sun, now it's going to pass Mars. This is huge. This is going to be energy about projects, relationships, and feeling better that are going to start to lead the way. And as Venus has come off that conjunction of the sun, this is an important moment for us where, yes, there's a lot of options, but it's the yod that I really am interested in with this Mercury and Leo. Because when the sun comes into Virgo, guess what? And we come through this Mars-Venus conjunction, we have a yod to Mercury. And when the sun comes into Virgo, it is squared at 0 degrees by the moon in Gemini. So you want to talk about mercurial? Mars will be in Virgo. Venus will be in Virgo. The sun will be in Virgo. The moon will be in Gemini. That is a lot with a Mercury in a yod. Now this is a fated destiny point because this yod of Mercury is going to be exactly in quincunx over to Neptune in Pisces and quincunx to the South Node and Pluto in Capricorn. And so for us to find our true happiness and understanding, and this is going to be like a circus show of energy that's going to be swirling and changing our realities and our environment faster than we can even say fast. Because if you really think about Mercury, its fastest planet, it's at the fastest speed right now. It's going really fast. It's getting its speed back. It came out of the retrograde. It came out of the shadow. And it's in Leo trying to find, well, what do I like? What is happy? And there's Pluto. There's Neptune. There's the South Node in this weird aspect. What is that weird aspect? Well, what is the spiritual quest that fills our heart and the environment? And you know what? There's always these two sides. Mercury is always looking at two sides. So it almost feels like you could come into kind of like a Two of Swords in tarot. Like, oh my gosh, like, okay, I got two sides going on. Which side is it? What is the thing I should go? Which path? This is a splitting of paths right now that is becoming very intense. And this very intensity this week is really about this yod because there is so much mercurial activity going on. We're switching from more sun-based, Leo, really fixed energy, but moving into a radicality of Gemini, which is all over the place, of the environment emotionally and what makes sense and what doesn't. And this moon is going to come into a big, big, big not exact mutable cross, but really it is with the opposition to Jupiter and the square to Neptune. And then, of course, it's going to be making that weird aspect over to Mars and Venus conjunct as well, and the sun, this 3/4 square of the moon that's waning. So that new moon next week, when it's on top of Mars and Venus, it is going to be seeding these new directions. And this week is where we are looking at so many options and so many directions, we almost don't even know what to choose. But we have to, because Saturn is sitting there in that weird in conjunct to Mercury. Saturn is ready to come direct in September. And it's like, I need to know, because the ships that are moving us into the 2020s and into this huge new paradigm is literally lifting off on September 18th. So why do you think all this energy is starting to happen? Start to look in your life and start to think about it. Why? And communication is the number one thing that you're going to have to do, whether that's the communication in yourself of your mind, the weirdness with Neptune and Pisces of your soul and what your gut feels and what your heart feels, and where does that really feel? That could be very difficult. They don't understand each other, Leo and Pisces, with Mercury and Neptune in a weird in conjunction. And then you've got, well, what feels the best for my long-term reality, for my heart, that I would sustain in a world that is rather mundane, right? Like, that I could still stay happy in a mundane world and be happy as can be. You want to talk about a lot? That's a lot. And you know, Yods are very famous for creating the ultimate destiny point. And this is an ultimate destiny zone. We don't ever get these moments where really, you know, we get a Mars-Venus conjunction. And there's these little things that are happening in between that I haven't mentioned, like Juno. Juno is going to be at the end of Leo with the sun in conjunction point at 29 degrees of Leo. The last moment that the sun is leaving Leo with all these planets in their dignity that I described at the beginning, which is extremely freaking rare, about defining what you really want in your life for your true happiness and that reflection and that true essence of knowing that beauty that is possible. And Juno is very connected to relationship energies. And having Mars and Venus conjuncting while the sun in Leo is on Juno, let me tell you, this is very important about major fated relationship choices and decisions, and especially the kind of energy that fits into the reality of where we want to go in our spiritual journey and where we want to go in our long-term journey of our life. And of course, with Jupiter, which is in Sagittarius, which, you know, it isn't really making any crazy aspects just yet, but the majorest crazy aspect of all, in my opinion, is when the sun comes into Virgo. And with Mars and Venus that are all coming together in Virgo, they are making a semi-square to the North Node in Cancer. Think about this one, 45-degree angle. And this one's really weird because this is like, as we look through the realities and the changes that we're all ready for, let's be honest, we have been through so much shit that we are just ready for change. We're sick of having alien babies. We're sick of so much crap. I know it's a joke. Somebody made an awesome meme and I love it. But, you know, we're sick of bringing in energy that does not feel like us. We're sick of us being in a world that doesn't align with what our heart truly wants. And this weird semi-square to the North Node is a karmic point, especially as this North Node is starting its conjunction to the fixed star, the star of Sirius. And this is serious times because it's seriously, it's serious on serious and serious times, because of the seriousness of the ancient wisdom that we come into, you know? What? That's how crazy life is. That this is a major moment of you aligning with what feels, I would say, in the most ancient way. If you want to go into Akashic records or you want to go into your true emotional destiny, like, anything that doesn't emotionally feel like an oh yeah, and a reality that you would be excited about. Because Virgo can feel like a machine. That's why I brought up, let's get our vacuums started. And already as, you know, this live has been going and how chaotic it already has seemed, this is nothing compared to what is coming this week. The chaos doesn't necessarily mean it needs to be scary, but the chaos is, we are in a place where we need to scramble to figure out what the hell we're going to do in our life. And this Saturn is really a big part of all of it. Because it's still on the south node. And it's still opposing the north node. And this has been a long journey. Because especially when we came into April at that conjunction point, when Saturn went retrograde, we have been dealing all the way through that time with Saturn in the south node. You want to talk about why life has felt more heavy, more ironclad, more serious in the choices and the decisions you're making in your life? Why do you think all this energy is starting to really get centered on the Sun, Mars, Venus, getting very close with Juno as well, all in Virgo, about where Regulus has moved? Regulus moved in 2012 into Virgo because the new way to lead the world is through the service of beauty and purity. And this is the purity that we got to find in our life. Anything that doesn't feel pure of emotion, anything that doesn't feel like we emotionally would want to embed ourselves there, we cannot be part of. And this is very difficult because Mars-Venus is great for re-identification. Mars-Venus is great for entering into things, but it also is a switchblade that comes out and just cuts things out. Especially in Virgo, you know what I mean? It's kind of like, I'm going to cut this out of the kitchen. Man, we are just having a wonderful show today, aren't we?
You're crushing it.
I'm crushing it. Weeks and weeks and weeks, no problems, and then you get a problem. But this is how you have to learn to adjust, because this is an adjustment type of energy. And if you don't know how to adjust on the fly, good thing I'm pretty good at being, McFly. At least I don't have a little, airboard. But that's kind of how we have to be. Marty McFly, on the fly. And it's kind of like entering into a little bit of a time capsule here that we've been going through with Saturn and the South Node in retrograde and right on top of each other, that we have to go into these deep, deep, old karmic records and really pull from past lives and what patterns we don't want to repeat, what patterns we want to shift and re-identify and change and switchblade out. And this is a major moment because this is all happening while the moon will then come into Cancer. After the moon's going to square all this stuff and come into the chaotic. So this is a crazy, very intense weekend, I'll be honest with you all, of it all coming up. And communication is key with the moon in Gemini squaring all this Virgo, Sun, Mars, and Venus, and with Mercury and a Yod and Leo, that you got to speak from your heart. You got to put it all out there. Everything has to come on the table now. And if it hasn't come on the table yet, the universe will create the chaos to make it show up on the table. And so that's why I'm trying to give people this energy that this is beautiful, because everything does show up on the table, especially if you are offering it from your heart, if you are offering it from your truth, if you are bringing it all up so you know what to start to formulate over these next couple weeks before we come into Libra, when Mars will then come into Libra, and then we come into a fall Sun and a detriment Mars. And that's beautiful because it means that we don't need to maybe work so hard, but it is going to come into hard squares with Saturn and Pluto as they come direct. So, if you think October is going to be easy, I'm just going to tell you right now, you better get ready. And this moon in Cancer is definitely going to be kind of weird because, yes, it's going to make nice angles over to this Virgo aspect, so we really truly know. I mean, everything comes on the table this weekend, and as we come into Monday with the moon in Cancer, yes, we emotionally start to understand what this is all going to move towards. But it will oppose Saturn. It will oppose this big time. And we're going to be called up with the moon on the north node, opposing Saturn, as Mars and Venus conjunct, as Venus passes Mars, and as this Sun goes through Virgo. And more importantly, we're going to be getting ready for these big aspects and trine to Uranus next week to really set us on course, to really get all the understandings together, to get the excitement of a better life that we can have, or Uranus will just double down and blow our house down and literally show us why are we in something we don't want. And I just want to tell people that if you haven't put it all out on the table, if you're not willing to just express your feelings, express your heart, and put it all out there, the universe is going to do it for you, and it will not be fun. It will feel like 1,000 million vacuums are coming after you, and they are here to come and clean you up. I'd rather hold the vacuum in my hand and do it myself. You know what I mean? I don't want to be rolled all over. I imagine what it's like to be a cat or a dog and be like, come here, little dog. Come here, little cat. That's not fun for them, I'm sure, when they get groomed or when it's like, come here, let me comb you. Some of them like it. But to be honest with you, as humans, we kind of like to bathe ourselves, you know what I mean? Like, unless it's like really romantic or something, but that's not every day. It's not like every day you just go into the bathtub and go, give me a nice like lather, please. No, we like to do it ourselves. We like to clean our own selves. That's why Virgo is kind of nitpicky, but also beautiful, because we are able to adjust our lives the way that we want to. And we have that option right now. But if we're not going to put it out on the table, if we're going to keep doing things that we don't really want to do and be part of a reality that really is not part of who we are, well, guess what? You'll be having an alien baby. And that might be really fun to have it rip out of your stomach and just blah all over the place. And everybody keeps asking me, what the hell is a freaking alien baby? I'm going to say this one last time. An alien baby is you choosing a life where you did not put it all on the table, that you know it's fucked up, that you know it's not part of your life, that you know it does not feel in alignment with truth, that it feels like harder than ever, and you know you don't want to be there. Well, guess what? You're going to accept that as your life. It's going to ingest in you like an alien in Alien the movie and shove itself into your throat, come down, come into your stomach, and rip itself out, and then it's going to come and kill you and eat you and then turn into another alien and then go turn it into somebody else like a fucking parasite. And if we're going to be talking about this new world that everybody keeps talking about in the spiritual community, the new 5D. Well, how are we going to all do that if all this parasitic activity is around because people just don't live in their truth? No, it's not about what you eat. No, it's not about, how many times you meditated today. It literally is if you do not know how to make your life in alignment with the spiritual quest, end your old fucking karma, get over your emotional shit to get to the real emotional shit. What does that mean? Stop being a baby over emotions that you're terrified to go experience. That's where you know the emotion that you are terrified to experience is where the love and the truth is. But all those emotional experiences that you're afraid to go into, you're afraid to tell that person, you're afraid to tell your job, you're afraid to tell anybody, or you're afraid to face in yourself, is where you are a baby and you are having an alien baby. Good luck with that one. Ah! Let's look at the charts. Wow, what a show today has been. How y'all doing? Y'all doing well? Let's take a look at today's chart to understand what's going on a little bit clearer so you guys don't hear me screaming about alien babies. August 20th of 2019. Wow, I can't even believe we're here. These are the last days of Leo. We do not want to waste this time. Look at this. Venus at the end of Leo. It's happy here. It's on the old position of Regulus, okay, which was if you were born after 1940 to 2012. But the main thing here is look at this Juno and the sun in between as the midpoint. That this beginning of this week is all about identifying the ultimate understanding of what is the most beautiful. I love Juno because if you look at it, it looks like all directions. In a cross too. Like you don't see that like cross, but there's this all direction aspect in our life. This all direction of love and happiness and the royalty and the truth of our heart's desires. And with Venus on top, it deals with the kind of partners we want, the kind of projects we want to be in, the kind of relationships we want to be in. This is what we're building. And if the opportunity is there, take it. Mercury's way out of shadow. It's direct. Mars and Venus are on top of each other. I don't know if y'all remember this, but I said it in my yearly reports. I've said it a million times. Mars and Venus retrograde in 2020. Not a fun year when you have a Mars and a Venus retrograde in the same year. Next year is going to be a lot of stall outs, okay? Especially when you have Saturn and Pluto conjunct in Capricorn with the South Node. with the sun on top, with Mercury on top. You know, the Pluto-Saturn conjunction, if you actually think about it, which we will be looking at for 35 to 37 years, which will be on January 10th through 12th of 2020, will forever have, in that conjunction part, the sun and Mercury conjunct it. So, you want to talk about delays? Do not waste this time. If you're trying to do the long ball right now, which I know Saturn and Pluto and the South Node can really do this really good thing of like, just do the long thing. Just keep pushing it out a little longer. Oh, I'll get to that next month. I'll get to that next week. I'll just keep going to school for another 6 years. I really don't want to have to go try and see what I really am worth. There's a part where it's like, sure, go do that, but go do something too. We have to go do something. This is too much creative energy to be wasted, especially at this part of the zodiac, on top of the star Regulus, whether it's in Virgo or Leo, wherever you want it to be, it is the creative life force energy of the zodiac, the heart. Because it is at 0006 Virgo, which is very, very, the inches into Virgo. And this is where Mars and Venus's midpoint is on this Tuesday. So you can feel it in the air tonight. And with Mercury, which is awesome, making a trine to Jupiter, and maybe why you guys are feeling me all fired up, because this moon in Aries at 28 degrees right now is trining Venus, is trining Juno, is trining the sun, is trining Mars as it comes into Taurus tonight. So you know what? Yeah, this is not a moon void off course. No way. Usually the moon at the end of a sign is like, okay, like let's just try and, I don't know, get this thing kind of, wherever. Well, I'm trying to tell you now, this is like demanding, let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go, let's make it happen. And yes, Virgo can feel like a machine that's just making things happen. And sometimes, you can feel like you're a machine. But the best part about this is, what are you putting in the machine that could create something beautiful in your life? What are the energies that you want to create? So anything that is just not in alignment with your reality, your heart has to learn to have the courage to say no and say yes to what is. And the machine is going to say, no, I don't take that energy into what I'm going to make for you, that. It reminds me of like counterfeiting. Because if you think about it, where Pluto was back in the day, especially into 1772, 1773, this is where Pluto was. We had the Boston Tea Party. Some people don't know their history. That was a big moment in Boston Harbor where all the, I guess you could call it back then, the colonialists just took all the tea and threw it back into the ocean to say F you to the king. Well, this is a moment in our lives where there's this old Pluto energy that if we're going to use all this power and this creative energy force right now, we got to make sure that we are doing and understanding we are not going to do what we don't want to do. That was what Pluto and Capricorn was like in the 1700s. It ended up becoming a revolution. That's what Pluto does at these aspects, especially with this South Node and Saturn in its home sign. This is a revolution bigger than we've ever seen that is building in the world. To be honest with you all, I know that might scare some people, but this is in your own life the greatest revolution that you have to have. But then people have this weird part where they start to become delusioned with the South Node there of this revolution of like playing this really long ball about a world. If you actually do the mathematics as an astrologer, you go, that world won't even exist. That long? That's how much change we're going to go through. This is about now. What are you doing now? Because if you're doing everything where you're holding off, I'm going to hold off telling everybody how I feel about this. I'm going to hold off my relationship that feels weird and fucky. I'm going to hold off on this that I don't like to do. I don't like this job, but I'm going to just do it because I'll just hold off. I'll hold off. Guess what? The universe is ready to just throw it all in your fucking face. Here you go. Here, I'm going to show you why. Virgos in your face are not the most fun unless they're in the more beautiful aspect of loving you. They can be the most beautiful love in the world. But when they're on the other side of that, the shadow side of Virgo is just going to rip you and nick you apart like, because Mercury's going to come in and go, no, look at this, and and you'll feel like, whoa, oh, holy shit. So August 20th, 2019, I don't know if y'all remember, Wednesday is 2-year anniversary of that solar eclipse. That was a total eclipse that went through America. And take stock on what happened 2 years ago in your life and where you're at, because that cycle's over completely. Mars has passed it. Venus has passed it. And here's the sun now, passing it. And so the last 2 years was all about learning what your heart really wanted. And this week is coming to the end of this deep understanding, especially as Juno is at 29 degree. The sun is there, but look at this on Wednesday. Venus is now in Regulus in Virgo, meeting up with Mars and making that semi-square. Look at that. Bam, over to the north node. So it's about to throw those emotions that, you know what, this is what the universe, what Rahu is trying to teach. This dragon is opening its mouth into the emotional world. And that dragon tail, I'll do a weird tail. That tail is over there with Pluto and Saturn being pulled on by this kind of like, oh, I need to just hold off. I need to hold off on how I feel. Let me just restrict the emotion. Let me put it off a little bit longer. Nope, not going to work with Mars and Venus trying to move things forward into a new reality. With Regulus on Venus as well, this is a feminine energy. Venus especially is, and especially Virgo is, but this is where Regulus went. It went from the most masculine sign to one of the most feminine signs. And so the Venus quality now goes to feminine. And this is positive, but it is at its fall position because it's a feminine that feels kind of castrated by, this is how you should be, this is how it should look, this is, But with Mars there to kind of accompany and court Venus and be like, hey, don't worry about all this criticism in the world. Do what the reality is that you want. That's what I'm doing. Let's do this together. You want to do that together? So there's great teamwork in this energy that's coming. There's great energy when people come together with a path that's pure and that isn't based off Capricornian greed, but emotional truth. That feels right, that feels in alignment with something of purity. That Regulus is going to test that. If you're doing something for just money, guess what? Not going to happen. If you're doing something because, well, my parents tell me I got to stay into this or I got to do this, well, good luck. Probably it won't work out. Because this is about a very difficult semi-square, about understanding the truth of your emotional capacity. And if you're ready not to create the reality now, there is no more time to waste. Saturn and Pluto are even more in an illusion in retrograde with the South Node that right now they're off. We are in a timeless space. And every minute that goes by that you're not doing something to create the identity, the life force, and the power that you have deep in within yourself, you're missing out on completely. And the more that you keep missing out, the more that you're going to miss out completely. And I know that might sound like, oh gosh, I'm a piece of shit or something because I'm missing out. This is where the courage I've talked about at the beginning of the show. This is the Sun and Juno coming to this Regulus position, the original position. And if you go back every 72 years, you get back to 7 times to get to 500 years ago when Saturn and Pluto were in Capricorn last. Ironically enough. And you get Regulus at 24 degrees. And you know what? Long story short is we've passed that zone. We are now in the new zone where it's at 0 Virgo. And this is where it's all coming this week. Venus will be here. So when it comes to projects, relationships, money, you just can't keep avoiding situations anymore. You've got to step into reality and become clear on what's on the table. And the Sun in Leo, this is the end, folks. We're not going to see this again in our lives. Next year when the Sun comes into Leo, it's a year with Mars and Venus retrograde. It's a year with Saturn that'll be retrograde into Aquarius, back into Capricorn. It is not going to be the greatest Sun in Leo transit we've ever had in a while. And what's interesting to me the most on Wednesday is, look at this. The moon is in Taurus again. We started literally the first day of Leo, the first degree with the moon in Taurus. We now have the moon in Taurus for the second time with the sun in Leo. So we have the moon exalted, we have Neptune in dignity, we have Saturn in dignity, we have Jupiter in dignity, and we have the sun in dignity. That's a lot of energy. That's in power and potent. And Mars and Venus on top of each other, even though Venus is in fall, Mars kind of equalizes that because it's neutral when it's in Virgo. So it equalizes things and creates this moment for us to realize with this moon conjunct Uranus and the moon that will trine in Taurus to Mars and Venus, that we got to get shit making up and we got to do things. We got to create. We got to build. And if we don't, then what are we doing with our lives? Uranus is a weirdo. Like he'll take you to the greatest heights in the whole world, or he will just literally take a hammer and just knock you on the head with it. Like, pfft. Or more importantly, he'll shock you. And I think that the shocking moment here is emotionally waking up to the greatness. Look at what's happening on the chart. 1, the yod that's forming to Mercury. 2, look at this great trine aspect all happening. And look at this trine to Jupiter and Mercury still. Remember, Mercury, of course, making a quincunx over here to Saturn. But this is a pretty beautiful chart, if you ask me. Now, if you really look at all this, this is definitely not, by Wednesday, especially with the completion point of the solar eclipse that happened 2 years ago, you have now 100% known what you want in your heart. I am sorry to say, if you are still questioning the kind of heart that you want in your life, you might need to go call the lion in Wizard of Oz and see if you can borrow his. But I don't think he's alive anymore. And I don't think, they're probably, I don't know if you're going to get into that museum and get the code. That's a pretty old movie. It's a pretty, that's not going to be an easy heart to go get. You got to do this on your own. There ain't no yellow brick road here. This is going to magically appear. This is the Virgo reality. This is not, I think this Neptune and Pisces can create a lot of this havoc because it's like in retrograde and it's like, I just want to escape. Because Mercury is going to start quincunxing Neptune. We've got Saturn and Neptune. It reminds me of like when I was like an old young stoner that would just sit on the couch with my friends and like wait for just, I don't know, what do you want to do? I don't know. I guess we'll just keep watching this show, and then you get to the end of the night and you're like, well, good night. Like, this is definitely not that time because this Neptune is trine to the North Node. So it's sensitive emotions that a lot of people want to suppress through drugs, alcohol, or even escapism, like I'm out of here. Or I don't want to do this right now. Or let me push this back a little bit more. And when you get this Pluto-Saturn thing in Capricorn, holy shit. And what are we suppressing? That true heart. Because when we come to Thursday, holy cow, we got the Sun and Juno conjunct 29-29. I know the 29-29 is kind of funny, but like remember that there's 59 minutes in a degree for geometry, okay? So, but I just think it's kind of interesting, 29-29. We're at the edge of the cliff of Leo. And this is the original position of Regulus when we were all born, most of us. So now Venus in Virgo is at 1 degree, and it's really close to Mars. We're going to still feel so potent. And that Mercury yod, see Mercury, I'll zoom in real close. There it is at 17. All right, that is making the yod. See, a yod has to have that exact perfect aspect in quincunxes. And it has to be within at least a 3 degree sextile here. And we've got Neptune in the south node making a yod to Mercury. This is definitely not a time to start wasting your energy on escapism or even planning on it. And more importantly, suppression or blocking yourself and going, you know what, I'm just going to keep holding this back. You need to speak your heart. If you speak your heart, if you speak from what you want in your life and the changes that you want to make in your life from your heart, from your true heart, with the sun at the last degree of Leo, on the old Regulus, on Juno, and the reflection you want to see, guess what? This destiny will activate your spiritual quest completely, as this is the spiritual quest. Neptune in its home sign and sextile to Saturn. That is something that is ending as well next year. So guess what, people? This is the time. Whether you like to hear it or not, there is no more time to waste. The ships are going to move. And I've used the analogy, and I'll use it one more time. The ships will leave without you to the new paradigm. They really will. Because this is a test. This is a test for those that are ready to expand their life. Jupiter is in Sagittarius. We are lucky as hell to have all this energy and its dignity. This is the last day of the most dignified energy you will see in astrology in a long time. A long time. Probably our lives. I've already done the math in my head. Ever. This is the last day. August 22nd, 2019. So what you're making your ideas for, what you're making your plans for, and with a yod to Mercury, and it's all mercurial about to happen, and the moon is going to be trining that Pluto-Saturn. The moon is going to square Mercury, so that kind of makes a little bit of a weird thing. We already went through moon in Taurus square Leo energy. We're going through it again. The universe is double making sure, like, you know what you want, right? You know that it's the best. You know that it's the ultimate. Because that's what Leo and Taurus represent. The ultimate best quality of life and love and feeling ever. There is no two signs that deal with it more. That's why the moon's exalted in Taurus, and that's why the sun is dignified in Leo. Because love and having it and having the best of something feels the best. And I know this will trigger all of the spiritual people who do not like anything dealing with materialism or anything like that. But we all know when you get a brand new anything and you open it up, there's something that happens that we all go, oh my God, I just like want to wiggle in my fucking soul and fucking have an orgasm. Why is that? I don't know. But if you're trying to tell me that you are so above all this spiritually and you don't wiggle a little bit when you get something new, I would check yourself, motherfucker, because when you open something new or when you feel the greatness of love, whether that is something material or whether it is not something material, it is that Taurus and Leo that comes together and goes, I have it, and the love is there, and there is no better feeling. Why do you think we came into this physical reality? I'm sorry to say that the moon is not exalted in Pisces. I'm sorry to say that the sun is not in dignity in Aquarius or Pisces. This reality is about the life that we live and everything that comes with it and the physical aspects of this reality. Yes, it's physical. And are you going to do something about it, or are you just going to sit there and hope and watch The Secret 5,000 times and not do anything and expect it for it all to just show up to you? The Secret, you have to move towards things. And to be honest with you, if I were to pick the chart of the ultimate secret of the universe, it would be this one right here. That might sound crazy and ludicrous to some people. But in my opinion, with this North Node in Cancer, you have to understand where you want to go in your life emotionally, where you want to root yourself in love at the ultimate degree, with Juno on top, which understands how it can connect to the ultimate understanding of where that can blossom and where that could be, that connects with you completely. And with the moon in Taurus and its exaltation and trine to Pluto and Capricorn of like defining exactly what we want and how to get there, with Saturn in its home sign on the south node of what feels not in alignment with us, but what feels like it could have the quest that is fulfilling the soul adventure in a physical reality. And with this Mars and Venus conjunction in Virgo, that we can actually get it done and make it happen and create it. But we've got to be specific. Yes, I think Venus in exaltation of Pisces is so important to understand, because that is, of course, where it's exalted, because we have to have a great vision. But the vision cannot become real unless you find the fall position. Fall positions are not, in my opinion, equal to dignified positions. So Venus at fall, yeah, it sucks because you have to be real. Yes, you might go on a date and you might be like, I don't like that. That looks weird. You smell weird. You look weird. It's too much patchouli oil. It's too much. But are you going to go live with your life and just accept too much patchouli oil? Where you're like, I cannot breathe right now. And we all have our own little nitpicks and our own little things. That's what makes life great. But this is the chart of the secret, in my opinion, with Jupiter in its home sign, and it is squaring over to Neptune, remember. That we have a grand vision already that's so huge, so big. We haven't had Jupiter in its home sign and Neptune in its home sign since 1852. Ironically enough, the Eiffel Tower was built during that moment, 1852. And it's still here. And go look on the planet for cool things that, when you think of France, it's like the first thing you think about, right? That Jupiter and Neptune square in their home signs, it can build visions that can last eternity and forever. That are still standing, that are still there and still represent something to people. But people went out there and did something with that vision. They believed, even though it looked like it was an impossible task. And if you cannot believe in something impossible and trust that the universe is there, and especially if you can't follow your own emotional truth, with the star Sirius here at 14 degrees, that's where it's exactly at today. But if we look at where Sirius is at, I always go right here, 14, 15, 16. This is where it's at. This is a moment in our lives. Destiny is at where every civilization pointed everything to. All the pyramids pointed to the spot. And there's no irony that the eclipses happened in between Sirius. 10 degrees and 24 degrees. What is the midpoint of that? That's 14, you minus 7, you get to right there. You get to right there. I'm telling you, folks. There was no coincidence. The eclipses that we just had in the last month and a half were all about this. There's no coincidence that this is a mercurial event that's about to happen that I'm about to show you. So you better use this Thursday to set the intention completely to go towards what you've always wanted and start to put it out on the table because it will be a amazing show or a circus show, depending on how you want. Now, I love circuses, I love circus energy of astrology because it really shows who's really putting it all out there and who's not. Because on Friday, on August 23rd, the sun comes into Virgo. Uh-oh, bam, no more Leo. The sun's not dignified anymore. And now, Mars and Venus, look at that. All in Virgo. Mercury rules Virgo. Adaptability, mutability, Earth, shifting Earth. We're not fixed anymore in the heart. We are shifting the reality fast. And Mercury, which is the ruler of Virgo, is in an exact yod still. 18 to that 17 and to that 16 right there with a south node. That's karmic. That's K2. That we need to focus on where our heart is. And ironically enough, if you look at where this is at 18, that's where the solar eclipse was on August, I think it was 10th of 2018, right? August 12th, might be right there. So that's an interesting spot, that 18 degree spot, because this moon, look at this, 0 degrees of Gemini. Now, why is this important? Well, one, this is an exact square to the sun, the 3/4 square, in all Mercury aspects. The moon's in Mercury's sign, the sun, Venus, Mars, and Mercury's in a yod? Ooh, I like that. Astrology is mercurial, and this is where the emotional realms are getting squared by the sun and Venus and this big, big semi-square, even Mars still, that we need to use the emotions to understand, but then we need to be willing to make the mental change. We need to change the environment now of our life. We need to experience new environments because Jupiter and Sag, there's a lot of mutable energy now. Okay? It's mutable is changeable. We need to change. Things need to just shift. We fixated, we understand. Let's change the reality. Let's shift things. And this moon in Gemini needs to communicate. And Mercury is under massive, massive destined communicational spots. Friday is no joke. Because what you take on that Thursday, what you take on this Wednesday, what you take on is truly understanding what you want to go and manifest. And it's going to be looking at your beliefs. It's going to be looking at if you have courage in your heart or not. Leo does not take on, in the kingdom, people who don't have the heart for it. They send them over to Aquarius and say, go live outside the gates. I know that'll trigger more people. But literally, that's what the sun does, right? It burns so bright and it goes, anybody who wants to come close, come close. And who came the closest of them all? Mercury. So why do you think Mercury is the sun's best friend? Because it talks all the time to it. Because it's the little dog that runs around it that it can, have fun with and laugh with. Believe it or not, most mercurial people love dogs and cats and animals, and they're always running around with them. And then you'll see the Saturn people that are way back there like, heal, gotta put my dog in this big old cage and not talk to it and yell at it, It'll be fun. I could do a whole dog and cat series just on people and their zodiac, not just off their sign, but off the energies and whether they're Mercurial or Saturnian or Mars. People are like the dog where it's like, get them, Holmes, fucking sick them. You know what I mean? Send out the hounds, bam. You know what I mean? Think about that shit. Kind of crazy. But long story short is, Mercury's the best friend of the sun because it's fucking like, let's go every 88 days. Let's go. And this is going to be let's go at the most extreme level. Ah! I love it though. Because it's going to force us to put it all on the table and communicate it out. That moon in Gemini is like, I need to emotionally understand what's going on. The sun is all freaked out in Virgo, like, I need to understand how this reality is going to go. We need to have some facts. Well, what are they? Well, I don't know. Well, tell me them so I understand them. Virgo is about understanding them more than speaking them out. Gemini is about, I don't know, throwing it out there. I have this idea. I have that idea. And then what does Virgo do? Let me put it in the computer and let me go, oh, that's the answer. Let's go. And what's this Mars and Venus? Look at that. Venus will meet up with Mars at 3 degrees. We're going to see conjunction later that day. And Juno's at the end of Leo moving into Virgo later that night. And so it's all going Virgo. It's Virgo party. Big time. And this moon in Gemini, whew. Not only is it making weird aspects to Saturn, not only is it making big squares, there is also the semi-square from the moon to the north node. Look at that, because it's in square to the sun. So guess what that means? That's creating a very, very weird aspect of semi-squares and the 90-degree square. So we get a 45, a 45, and a 90-degree up. That's a joke. And with that that 45 up and that 90, woo! It's all on that north node on Sirius. That's the star, baby, the North Star. Are you pointing your life north to your emotional truth? Factually, is the environment making sense? Is the reality making sense? Or are you just slopping away in Neptune's land, just being like, I don't know. I'm just escaping. I don't want to be part of life. I'm just going to... You know what? Michael Luton said it best. I'm trying to get him on the show. I think I got an interview with him. He put up a rubber ducky the other day and he says, well, during these times it's sink or swim. And I love that. I remember I was like, thank God I swam for fucking 13 years competitively, and I was a rescue swimmer in the Navy, and I jet ski for professionally. I like swimming. I don't like sinking. That's weird. But this is sink or swim for sure. And I have got to quote him on that one, because guess what? Are you going to drown in your emotions in the past? And I can't deal with the sensitivity of the emotion, and I can't change my reality. I'm just going to sink. Good. Bye. With the ocean, I remember the Oceania, the Mariana Ocean Trench, right, is 35,000, 280 feet? It's the deepest part of the ocean. You want to sink 35,000 feet down? Sure, swimming, you think it sucks. I was a rescue swimmer. I had to learn how to actually survive for 48 hours and learn how to swim and not do anything. You don't swim. You just chill and float on the surface and get a tan. I was able to eat lunch in the ocean, literally, as a rescue swimmer. And if you thought I was burning calories, I was getting amazingness, and I felt free in the ocean. You could just pee and poop. Like, they teach you that shit. You got to do it that way. Other animals do that in the ocean. That's what happens. It's like life. Mammals do it. Dolphins do it. You ever seen dolphin poop? I don't know if you've seen dolphin poop yet. Go look it up. Dolphins poop. They're not as pretty as you think it is, you know what I mean? But I think that there's this part where it's like, is it really that hard to swim? When you're in energy of happiness. I remember sitting in moments when I would float in the ocean, and I would look up, and I was like laughing because when I went to boot camp, you know, like 80% of the people in boot camp can't swim. They're from the Midwest, or they're from, you know, states that are really cold. And so I remember I had to jump off a high dive, which we do at 5 years old. So I like jump off, do a dive, and then I was like, I'm gonna show, you know, I was 18 Leo. I'm like, boom, I just literally went as fast as I could and literally got up, and they looked at me like, who the fuck is this? Everybody had to go to swim school like later at night and all this shit. Well, I got to do cool shit, like talk to the chicks that were in the Navy in boot camp. So if you don't know how to swim in life really well, and I think this is where street smarts come in. Mercury, you'd think, is much more book smarts. No, that's Jupiter. Jupiter wants to do the scholastic thing. But this is very mercurial, and I think that this is going to be very hard for Jupiter because this is going to be a lot of Virgo squaring Jupiter and a lot of energy opposing Jupiter. And so street smarts come in handier. Think with your head. What makes sense? What do you do? What's on the fly? What is the reality that you want to be in? And yes, emotion is involved. Some people, some comment the other day was like, oh, well, we all know you're not emotional. You put out that video about how, you know, astrology is hermetic. It's hermetic because if you get too emotional, then you start projecting your own emotions on freaking astrology. That's what tarot readers do. I don't know how many pick-a-card readers and all these tarot readers out there like emotionally pulling cards. Like, me. You really think that's coming from a neutral space? Yes, emotion's needed. But we have to see first the reality and then connect the emotion. Because if you're gonna stick it in, you know what I mean? You got to live with the repercussions if you stick it in all the way and then go all the way, right? So maybe you should think about what you're sticking your energy in, because that's smarter to do. Then put the emotion in, because you've already seen the reality, you've already put in the data, you've already understood what you must do. And this Mars and Venus is like, let's go create the best reality for us. This is where things are going to get weird. And you thought it was weird? It gets weirder. Saturday, here we go. The moon, wow, 14 degrees, opposing Jupiter. This is a weird one because it's creating a T-square to Neptune. Now, when we look at Mercury, it's now going to make a quincunx. It's out of the odd, by the way. So this energy is going to feel a lot, I think, easier and a lot more about really searching deep. Lots of questions are going to come up. Lots of pondering. But Mercury quincunxing Pluto? Oh my gosh. Yeah, we got to get deep. If everything is not on the table by Saturday, I'm sorry to tell you all, it's going to get thrown in your face. Venus and Mars conjunct exactly at 4:07, okay? This is powerful because we are starting the trines to Uranus to start to break through to a better reality or a worse reality. A spoiled reality. Ooh, I like that. Spoiled rotten. Because if we're not going to go for a better life and we're too afraid to follow our emotional truth, well, this Virgo is going to not do the right energy in the right direction. And, you know, Juno now is in Virgo, finding what aligns with the life we want. We know what our heart wants, but let's see it real. And so there are a lot of conversations are going to come up this weekend. more than you've ever seen before. Intense one, karmic ones, about what is happening with this moon in opposition to Jupiter and this moon squaring over to Neptune and creating a big T-square to Neptune. Neptune's kind of pressured, like, okay, what is this spirituality? What is this thing that's really kind of confusing? We have to tap into our intuition in a time where Mars and Venus are like, let's go. But what is the intuition saying? We need to know. What is Neptune telling us? And the moon in Gemini needs to tell us, and Jupiter needs to tell us some sort of big scholastic understanding that can create a lot of pressure. But that pressure is about Mercury over this quincunx to Pluto. Just follow your heart, make a call, follow what you know in your gut, and go for it. And go for it. And trust. People are going to be afraid to start going for things. And that's how you know it's like you ain't ready for the new journey. Like, there are ultimate possibilities. So moving forward into the reality, we've got a whole month here of Virgo. It's not like, that's it, you're stuck with it, but at least you're moving, and there's something about all this adaptability and mutability that we adapt with it. That we can make little minor changes as we go forward. But if you're going to still choose nada and not go into anything and just double down on, I'm going to stay doing the same shit on and on every day. I'm not going to change my schedule. I'm not going to change this reality. I'm not going to change this, because this is so much about your environment and the people we're around. Venus and Virgo is like, you know, why do I hang out with that person? They're not in my reality. And you know that in culture today, and especially on the news and everything, they're trying to tell us on what's morally right. I'll be honest with you, and I'm just speaking from truth of what I saw on YouTube. I couldn't believe it's like, right now, Fox and CNN are battling each other of who is more morally right. I saw Anderson Cooper go crazy over a bunch of stuff, and I saw Fox News people making fun of that, and it's just like, these people are telling us what's morally right to do? It's a joke. Like, what's morally right is it's not bad to be like, you're not good for my reality, you're shooting up fucking heroin and fucking up. Or, we'll use a funny joke example. Could trigger people, but it's like, I'm hanging out with Jeffrey Epstein, probably shouldn't hang out with them, right? If you're on the island 26 times on the list, maybe it's time to not do 27 at this point. Does that make sense? Like, oh my gosh. Like, how many times do you have to keep doing that until you're like, oh gosh. Well, got to make sure that he got hung in a jail that all the people that have been in that jail is like, that's impossible. There's no way to get hung in that jail. So, I'm just trying to tell you all, do you want to be that 27th time on the list again and doing the same thing? Because it leads down really weird roads. And we don't want to go down weird roads anymore. We want to stop these old roads. And we want to go down exciting, more positive new roads. Life without Jeffrey Epstein is great. We're living it right now. It's not great about the justice part, but guess what? When the Libra energy comes in, justice is going to be found in a lot of areas of life. But what I'm trying to tell people is, it is not morally wrong to energetically move into the reality. There's something about, what I love about mutable signs is it's not so much about disconnection, but much more about moving into. So sometimes you don't even have to make it this whole dramatic thing. We're out of Leo, although Mercury's there in Leo. It's going to talk and say everything from its heart. And with Pluto there, it's got a little vampire aspect to it, like, oh yeah. So guess what? Yeah, it's going to be intense, but you know what? We can move into that reality and be like, kind of, let's go. And as we come to Sunday, this is what's interesting. And actually, I forgot to bring this up, but I'll show it to you all now. As Mars and Venus are conjuncting at 4, and then Venus comes to 5, this is the moment where Venus now is past Mars. Big deal, okay? Because now Venus is leading the way. All right, we got a woman leading the way. Something could come out in the news, too. Maybe political or something of a woman leading the way or a woman doing something great. It'd be awesome to see, especially with Juno on Regulus. But what's going to be interesting about this is Venus and Mars are quincunxing Chiron. Oh, wah, wah, wah. So if you think you know your heart, the test is going to be, is that an ego heart or not? Right? True Leo is just love. Like, I love the way, and I'll admit, my cats are not perfect. They scratch shit that they shouldn't. But I come in and I see a little fluff that they got on that pillow, and I just, even though I might be all like, I look at them and I go, I love them. Because even though the ego wants that nice pillow or couch or whatever to be nice, Chiron in Aries makes you go, fuck that. Let me get rid of my ego and let me be humble and let me just see what I really am. And I really am a person who loves my cats and I love them and I know who they are and they're cats and that's natural. And we're weird. We're humans. We lock up animals into houses and I keep them in this house in jail for the rest of their lives and they have to live for us. How crazy egoic is that? So, but you have to kind of see through that a little bit and get into this deep heart aspect and go, it might not be perfect what it looks like because Virgo wants perfection, sculpted nice. Like, you know what? Especially we'll use relationships, for example. I don't know, they have that weird thing that kind of looks weird on their arm, or they have that weird thing on the way that their butt shaped, or they have that weird thing on their neck. It's like a mole. It's like, pfft, good luck with the heart. You can't, if you're going to start looking at all that shit and your ego's like, no, I need to be like Hugh Hef and it needs to look like that. That guy did not end too well. I'm just going to be honest. I know that men can really be like, oh, he had it going on. That fool was giving quaaludes in the 2000s to people. And those girls were just doing it for money and then peacing out. And I guarantee you they weren't on that thing for a long time or not even at it at all. I don't even think he probably got it up all the way. Who knows? But my whole point of this is that what we think is perfect and looks great is not. When you see past that and you move through the projection of the identity of this egoic thing that needs to be healed within society and ourselves. We've never seen Chiron in Aries retrograde at this position with Mars and Venus in quincunx. You know why? Because Chiron was not found until 77, so you've never in your life seen it. As an astrologer, I've never seen it, and I'm probably the first person right now in the world to make a horoscope about this transit, because no other time has this happened in our conscious view. So, it's a moon in Cancer, and the moon's now in its home sign, and it's sextiling the sun, and it's going to make awesome aspects to Mars Venus that we have to tap into more of the emotional feeling of the life we want and not the egoic. And we have to be willing to be emotional and pure and feel and be loving from that space. Mercury in Leo, it's over all the weird quincunxes. So Mercury in Leo now is happy. It's not making any weird aspects, but except the semi-square real quick to the moon, but that's nothing. So long story short, Mercury in Leo is like going to be positive. So there's going to be a lot to work through this whole week. But it's really when we get to Monday where things get into gear all the way from the choices that we're making. And I feel there might be a lot of choices with all this Jupiter, Mercury stuff, and with more importantly, just with all this Virgo mixed with the Gemini, mixed with how mercurial things are. Chiron comes to 4 degrees. And so, now we're getting the sun quincunx Chiron. Now Mars and Venus have passed that quick. And it's this moon opposed Saturn. It's like you need to not be afraid to emotionally do this. It might look hard, but this is where we have to move into life and not restrict ourselves. It might be uncomfortable. Moon Rahu is not comfortable because we have to feel. And we have to feel the reality we want. And this moon will quincunx over to Jupiter. So it's like, well, there's so many things I could feel. It's like, okay, yeah, that's true, but feel it all. Why not? Feel it all. Lick it all. Taste it all. In the reality that makes sense and that is pure for you. Instead of going, well, let me look outside that reality and let me look at that reality. It's like, oh my gosh, are you going to pick Disneyland, Knott's Berry Farm, Universal Studios, or Santa's Village? Santa's village was lame. I always told my dad and my mom, no! Disneyland, no Santa's village. The commercials were cheesy. You know, this reminds me of National Lampoon's Vacation, where Chevy Chase is driving in the station wagon, and that's his life and the kind of person he is. And then the hot chick pulls up in the Ferrari next to him, and then he acts like, ooh. And then he gets finally to the hotel, and he tells her, yeah, this is my fake family. I'm, trying to act the way that I am. And he almost tries to put himself in that reality. And he has to be fake, and that's an alien baby right there. But there's another way to look at it. Maybe he really doesn't want to be with his family. Maybe that's not the life that he really wants to be in, since he's obviously willing to go that far and do it. He obviously has this part of himself where he just can't just sit with his family the whole time. He's got to go on a crazy adventure all the time. And so he's got to turn to this crazy situation. He'll even jump the fence and get the cops pulled over there, and when the park shut down, he'll just do whatever he really wants to do. So maybe he's not the best guy for that reality. And that's where he's got to face his emotional truth. Because that's going down some really crazy roads. And we're not even close to the finishing of this, but we are close to the finishing of what we are close to, and what we are finishing this week with is the understanding of what you know in your heart you want. Now it's time to go look in the realities and play around. And it's more importantly to have the conversations, because and to look at your environment and go, what makes sense? What makes sense? What feels karmic? What feels karmic alignment with my quest? What doesn't? And more importantly, what would I be willing to do and sacrifice emotionally? Because there's a sacrifice in Virgo. The Virgo sacrifice is for the harvest. The harvesting of new, pure souls and a new world. And there's a sacrifice that must be done emotionally, where you have to emotionally invest yourself into the reality. When you take emotion and reality and you put them together, that is what brings beauty and safety and feeling good. But if you don't know how to bring those together, you're not going to find happiness. That's why Cancer and Virgo are on the both sides of Leo. And that's why Mercury and the Moon are on the other side of Leo, right? We have to understand the reality, and we have to emotionally invest, and that's how we get the bright light of the sun. And why are the Moon and Mercury the closest things to the sun? Well, we got Venus there too, which ironically is with Mars, which is on the other side. But it's really interesting to see that Venus and Mars are on the other side of the sun. We can't see them. So they're partnering up together to do all this stuff on the other side of the sun that we can't see from Earth's point of view. This is not a Cassini, energy like what people think, like the burning out of the planet in front of us. No. This is on the opposite side. This is at their power and their strength. They're not on stage in front of us doing it. They're behind stage. And they're coming together. But if they're not really going to work out in the realities and they don't fit together, it's not going to work. Because then the emotions aren't going to work. And this week is, are you doing it? And are you following the emotional path of what you really want in your life? Or are you just sitting and waiting around and you're too afraid to put it all on the table? Because the universe will have somebody else speak up, or it will have some event that will pop up out of nowhere with Pluto and Mercury. Some crazy text message will get found out. Some Instagram DM will get thrown in your face. Some crazy thing will get thrown out at you. That little vampire Pluto with Mercury and quincunx and Leo will have a good time and be like, oh, these two or this situation, they didn't want to put it all on the table. Don't you think we should just throw it out there? Oh, the moon's in Gemini? Oh, yeah. That creates chaos. And I do want to say that Mars-Venus can be very aggressive too and try and dominate energy, especially Venus in its fall. And if you're coming from that position of domination on somebody, not going to go well. This is about equality and knowing how to court feminine and masculine together. And if you don't put it out on the table, you won't find out what's there. And if you don't put yourself, even when it's all out on the table, and make a choice now and start to move yourself in that reality, even if it's emotionally the toughest thing that you feel like you have to do to leave that one reality in your life, that's not part of your heart. Because you are going to know with this sun at 28 degrees, when it completes that 2-year cycle of that eclipse cycle, and Mars has passed it, and Juno passes it, and Mercury next week is going to pass it, and a new moon is next week with the sun and Mars. Remember, the sun is about to catch up with Mars. Sun's faster than Mars. Bam! With a new moon on top, it's all Virgo next week. Holy cow. And you can change your life right now into the most beautiful life ever, or you can watch it become the most stressful stress case of your life. And we end the week, and I didn't even show you, with Venus trine Uranus. I love this. I was born with this. You know why this is a cool position? Now, some people might not get this position. Okay, Venus trine Uranus. Oh my gosh, we're having some issues today. But Venus trine Uranus is amazing. You know why? Because at any point in your life, when something does not make logical sense, or it doesn't bring stimulation, or it's not moving forward, Venus goes, fuck it, over it, moves to somewhere new and exciting to feel good. That's hard for people though. And to be more open, Uranus is very open. Like, hey, let's involve everybody. Well, Venus is usually like, well, wait, okay, yeah. But a lot of people out there don't have a good time when it's like learning to integrate all things, to try new things, to explore new territories, to do all this stuff. And when it's in Taurus, it's like there's better in your reality. Are you willing to try it or not? And if you're not willing to try it, if you're not willing to experience new energies in a relationship, or you're really not to, I talked about people like jumping the fence and starting to explore. Well, now you're in Virgo. It's like, you're kind of in the environment that you chose to be in, and that's where you're exploring. Does this work? Does this work? If you want to be in the laboratory, still trying to make an old thing work, oh my God, you want to teach an old dog new tricks in a fucking laboratory? That would be a fucking sight. Try a better reality. Try a new energy. Try things that are better. And Mars trine Uranus as well, that is, let's go to infinity and beyond. To a new reality that's the best that we can create now. And I was born with Venus trine Uranus, and I'll give you the truth. Venus trine Uranus does not put labels on relationships well. Because we all realize we're people. I don't like labeling people in my life. I don't even like labeling myself, really, to be honest. Sure, I say I'm the Leo King, but people ask me, what do you do? Who are you? What do you do? I'm like, I don't know. Like, I do astrology. Like, I'm just kind of, I'm me. I don't know. Like, Uranus and Venus aren't about labels. They're about seeing that people can be any part of our life in any way at any time, all the time. This is going to converge projects. This is going to converge people. This is going to converge action. And if you're not ready for it, and you're not in the best emotional and alignment and reality for it, you're going to miss out, because when the conversion point happens on Monday, and it's all converging, there you are. You had all week. You had the sun finish in Leo. There's no more dignified sun in Leo with all those dignified planets ever again in your life. And I'm sorry to say, converge and come together and find it all come together and hallelujah, or use that convergent point to just continue to try and find more conversions in a crazy radical reality that you've already been given the answers a million times over that you're not willing to listen to. Do not miss After Dark. I got special guest Erica Othen in the house, known as Crystalline Codes. We got Sarah Posh. We're going live right after this. We're going to set this thing up and we're going to roll. So don't miss it. Erica and I haven't been on camera since 2012? It's been a long time. Love you all very much. Thank you for supporting. Check us out, highvibe.tv, for my daily horoscopes and my Venus video. You want to go more in this Venus stuff? You just saw this. Have you seen the new moon? Have you seen after that? Have you seen what's coming? Remember, Venus and Neptune. Mars, Neptune. Oh my gosh, you guys have no idea what's coming up here. Uh-oh, Venus square Jupiter, Mars square Jupiter. Uh-oh. How do you think this is all going to play out? I give you all the answers in this video for just $10 at highvibe.tv. Thanks so much for all your support. Truly appreciate it. Please share this video, and I will see all of you on After Dark right after this. Let's go.